The Galactic Academy was one of the greatest training centers in the entire star system. Every year, thousands of young aliens came here to learn war tactics, survival skills, and military science. The academy had tall metal towers, glowing blue halls, and guards that watched every corner. But today something unusual was happening. A human cadet was taking an important test. His name was Evan Hale. He looked calm, almost too calm, as he walked down the silent corridor. Other alien cadets stared at him with confused or mocking eyes. Humans were rare here. Many species at the academy believed humans were weak, emotional, and easy to control. They thought humans did not belong in a high-level war school where sharp minds and strong bodies were needed. But Evan did not react. He did not look left or right. He simply walked to the test room with steady steps, like he already knew something others did not. Inside the exam chamber, the air felt cold. The lights were dim. A tall alien with 4 eyes and a long neck stood near a desk. His name was Instructor Zorth, a respected teacher known for strict rules and zero tolerance for mistakes. Zorth looked at Evan with a mix of curiosity and doubt. "So, you are the new human cadet," he said in a slow voice. Evan nodded politely. "Yes, Instructor." Zorth checked his tablet. "Your physical records are below average. Your combat score is low. And your strength level is almost 0. Evan did not seem bothered. "I am better at thinking than fighting," he answered softly. Zorth grunted. "We will see." He handed Evan a single sheet of paper and a digital pen. The task was written in bold letters. "List 3 possible ways a human can kill an enemy." Zorth expected something simple, maybe even childish. He had no idea what was about to happen. Evan sat down. He looked at the paper for only a moment. Then he started writing. His hand moved fast, smooth and confident. There was no hesitation, no pause, not even a moment of thinking. It was as if everything was already in his mind. Zorth watched him, first with boredom, then with curiosity, and slowly with confusion. The pen kept sliding across the page. 1 line. Then another. Then another. Evan had already written 5 methods. Then 10, then 15. Zorth took 1 step forward. This was strange. The test asked for 3. Why was the human still writing? Evan's face was calm and emotionless. His eyes stayed on the paper. His breathing was slow. It almost felt unnatural, like his mind was operating at a different speed. Zorth checked the list again. Evan was now at 20 methods, each written with clear steps and simple descriptions. Some were strategic. Some were psychological. Some were based on nature. And some were so creative that Zorth had never seen anything like them. But then, the moment came. Evan wrote method number 4 far earlier in the list, but Zorth's eyes landed on it first when the paper shifted slightly. He read it fully. And everything inside him froze. His long fingers stopped moving. His 4 eyes widened slowly. His breath caught in his throat. Method number 4 was not violent. It was not bloody. It was not physical at all. It was something else. Something Zorth had never considered. Something that required deep understanding of fear, intelligence, and survival instinct. The method used human psychology in a way no alien species ever used. It showed how humans could turn weakness into a weapon. How they could survive even when outnumbered. How they could break an enemy without touching them. Zorth suddenly felt a chill run down his spine. Evan kept writing calmly, unaware, or pretending to be unaware, of the fear building in the room. Zorth stepped back slowly. His voice shook a little when he said, "Human, where did you learn these things?" Evan did not stop writing. "They are normal ideas," he replied softly. "Any human can think of them." Zorth did not believe that for a second. The Academy had seen many dangerous species, warborn vraks, shadow hunters of Rylax, the iron claw reptiles, but none of them ever wrote something like this. None of them used such strange logic. None of them showed this level of creativity mixed with danger. Evan finally paused, looked up at the instructor, and asked, "Is this enough?" Zorth looked at the paper. Evan had reached 30 methods. 30. The test asked for 3. The instructor felt sweat forming under his collar. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly. He suddenly felt like he was standing in front of something powerful. Something unpredictable. Something that looked harmless but was not harmless at all. Zorth whispered almost to himself, "What kind of species are humans?" Evan did not answer. He just smiled slightly. A calm, small, quiet smile. And that scared Zorth more than the entire list. Instructor Zorth stood frozen in front of the human cadet. His tall body felt suddenly too light, too weak, as if the air in the room had thinned. He wanted to speak, but the words refused to come out. His 4 eyes stayed locked on method number 4, unable to move away. Evan sat quietly at the desk, his pen resting between his fingers. The glow from the overhead lamp made his face look calm and soft, almost harmless. But Zorth now understood that this calm look was the most dangerous thing in the room. He took a few deep breaths. He had to understand. He had to know how a human mind created something like this. Slowly Zorth whispered, "Human, explain this." Evan tilted his head. "Explain what, Instructor?" Zorth pointed at number 4 on the list with a shaking finger. "This method. This idea. How can someone think in such a way?" Evan looked at the list for a moment, then closed his eyes as if remembering something from far away. "It is normal thinking," he said in a simple voice. "Humans are trained by life. We learn to survive early. We have to." Zorth blinked. "But this is not survival. This is strategy mixed with something else." Evan smiled lightly. "Fear," he said. "Humans understand fear very well." Zorth felt a small shiver run up his spine. The room suddenly felt colder. He looked again at the paper. Method number 4 described a psychological trap, one that required no strength, no weapon, no technology. It only needed knowledge of how minds work. It used silence, timing, behavior, and human unpredictability. Other species fought directly. Humans fought with the mind first. Zorth stepped away from the desk. His body language changed. His tall frame bent slightly and his voice became softer, almost respectful. "Human. Evan, how many of your species can think like this?" Evan shrugged lightly. "Probably many. We all learn from danger. We learn from stories, from history, from hard times. Humans grow strong because we must grow strong." Zorth felt his throat tighten. If even half of what Evan said was true, humans were far more dangerous than the Academy believed. The instructor slowly tapped a button on his wrist. A small, silent alarm triggered. No sound. No lights. But in the hallway a signal flashed. Evan's eyes flicked toward the door. "You called someone?" Zorth stiffened. "Protocols. You have exceeded expectations." The door slid open and 2 alien officers stepped inside. Both were tall and armored, their skin a deep green color. They looked at Zorth first, then at Evan, then at the paper on the desk. The taller officer, Commander Relt, asked, "Why the emergency?" Zorth handed him the test paper with trembling hands. "Look at number 4. Relt scanned the list. His expression changed from neutral to curious, then to shocked disbelief. He whispered, "This is a method from psychological warfare. But, adapted, modified, perfected. Who taught you this?" Evan answered in a polite tone, "Nobody. Humans are good at imagining problems. And solutions." Relt looked at Zorth, then back at Evan. "Why did you write 30 methods instead of 3? Evan gave a simple answer, "I had more ideas." The 2 officers exchanged uneasy glances. Zorth spoke in a low voice, "Sir, this human may be more dangerous than we estimated." Relt frowned. "Dangerous? He is small. Weak. Look at him." Zorth shook his head. "Danger is not always physical." The commander read method number 4 again, then the next few methods. His face grew pale. If even one of these ideas spreads in the Academy, it could change all tactics. And all wars. Zorth nodded. "Exactly." They both looked at Evan, who sat quietly, hands folded, waiting like a student who had finished homework. Evan finally asked, "Did I do something wrong?" Relt cleared his throat. "Not wrong, but unexpected. Very unexpected." He stepped closer to the human cadet. "Human minds, do all of you think like this?" Evan hesitated. Then he answered with honesty. "Most of us can. If we need to." Zorth felt another chill. He realized the human was not bragging. He was simply telling the truth. Commander Relt whispered to Zorth, "We must take this to the High Council. They need to see this list." Evan looked up, his face still calm. "What? It is only writing." Relt looked at him sharply. "Writing that can change the balance of power." Evan blinked slowly. "I didn't mean harm." Zorth's voice softened. "Intent does not matter. Knowledge does." There was silence in the room for a long moment. Then Evan asked quietly, "Should I stop writing now?" Zorth almost laughed from shock. "You have already written 30. How many more do you have?" Evan replied in a gentle voice, "I can think of many more. Humans have big imaginations. Especially about danger." The 2 officers exchanged a look of fear and awe. In that moment they both understood something important. Humans were not weak. Humans were not simple. Humans were Unpredictable. And unpredictability was the most dangerous power in the galaxy. The test room grew quiet, too quiet. Evan sat with his hands resting on the desk, while Instructor Zorth and Commander Relt stood near the door, whispering in low, tense voices. The silent alarm had already gone to the upper floors. In a few minutes, more alien officials would arrive. Evan knew this. He could tell by the way Zorth kept glancing at the door. He could tell by how the commander's voice changed. And he could tell because humans were good at noticing tension. Still he did not move. He just watched and waited. The soft hum of the academy lights echoed through the room. The sound of footsteps approached, slow, heavy, and strong. The air shifted as a group of high-ranking officers entered the room. Their armor shimmered with faint blue energy. Their eyes scanned the surroundings with alert expressions. The leader was General Karath, a tall alien with 4 horns and silver skin. He was famous for fighting in 3 galactic wars. He rarely showed emotion. But the moment he saw the paper on the desk, he stopped walking. "What is this?" he asked, voice low and sharp. Commander Relt handed him the sheet. A human cadet wrote it. General Karath took the paper without interest, until his eyes reached method number 4. His jaw tightened. He read it once, then twice. His pupils narrowed. "Who taught you this?" the general asked, turning toward Evan with slow, careful movements. "No one," Evan answered. "I just wrote what came to mind." Karath walked closer, towering over the small human, studying his expression, searching for lies. "You created this from your own thinking?" "Yes." Karath did not move for several seconds. Then he let out a long breath. "This is dangerous knowledge," he said. Evan frowned slightly. "What?" "It's only ideas." General Karath shook his head. "Ideas are the most dangerous weapons in the galaxy." Evan lowered his eyes to the paper. "I didn't mean to cause trouble." Relt spoke quietly. "Intentions do not matter, human. What you know matters. How you think matters even more." The officers moved closer, forming a half-circle around Evan. They watched him with a mixture of fear, respect, and curiosity. It felt like Evan was no longer just a cadet. He was a puzzle they needed to understand. General Karath looked at Zorth. "You triggered the silent alarm?" "Yes, General," Zorth replied. "I believe the situation required high-level review." "It does," Karath said. Evan finally broke the silence. "If my list is a problem, I can take it back." Zorth stared at him. "You do not understand. Once knowledge exists, it cannot go back." Relt stepped forward. "Human Evan, why did you write 30 methods instead of 3? Evan answered simply, "Because there are many ways to solve a problem." Karath examined him carefully. "Do you always think like this?" Evan shrugged. "Most humans do. When we face danger, we think fast. We find answers." Zorth added softly, "And sometimes too many answers." One of the officers, a scientist named Dr. Vola, approached with a scanning device. She looked like a gentle species, but her voice carried strength. "General, may I?" she asked. Karath nodded. She scanned the paper, then scanned Evan. After a moment she said, "No implants. No enhancements. No genetic editing. This is natural human thinking." The room filled with whispers. "Natural? Impossible. No other species thinks like this. Humans, maybe they are more dangerous than we believed." Dr. Vola continued, "Human brains adapt quickly. They create strategies even under calm conditions. If stressed, their thinking may become even faster." Karath stared at Evan as if seeing him for the first time. "So even under no pressure you can create 30 deadly ideas?" Evan replied quietly, "Yes. Pressure only makes us stronger." A deeper silence fell across the room. Karath turned to his officers. "We must decide how to handle this human." Relt nodded. "He cannot stay in a normal class. His knowledge is too advanced." Zorth added, "He is calm, too calm. That scares me more than the list." Dr. Vola said, "We should observe him. Study him. Understand how he thinks." Evan listened to all this without speaking. He was used to humans being judged. He was used to being underestimated. But today was different. Today they feared him. Karath stepped closer again. "Human Evan, tell me this. Why are you here at the academy?" Evan looked down at his hands. "To learn. To prove humans are not weak." "Not weak," Karath repeated softly. He looked at the list again. "Weak is the last word I would use." Evan offered a small, polite smile. Karath stared at him for a long moment, then said to the officers, "Prepare the council chamber. The High Council must see this list and this human." Zorth swallowed hard. Are you sure, General? Yes, Karath replied. This is not just a test. This is a warning. He turned to Evan. Human, you will come with us. From now on, your mind is Academy property. Evan stood up slowly. He looked at the officers, then at Zorth, then at the paper. And in a quiet voice he said, You still don't understand. Humans don't belong to anyone. The room froze. The officers exchanged looks of shock. Karath narrowed his eyes. We will see about that. And the door slid open, ready to take Evan to a place where the entire Academy, and soon the galaxy, would judge what humans truly were. The hallway outside the test room felt darker than usual as Evan walked between the alien officers. General Karath led the group, his heavy steps echoing through the metal floor. Commander Relt walked behind Evan like a quiet shadow. Instructor Zorth followed with a nervous expression, still shaken by the humans' list. Evan did not resist. He did not speak. He simply walked forward with the same calm he always had. But inside the minds of the aliens around him, fear slowly grew. The walls glowed with pale blue lines, scanning every creature that passed. Security drones floated above, watching with sharp red eyes. The deeper they moved into the Academy, the colder the air became. Karath finally spoke. Human, you will answer our questions. Do you understand? Evan nodded. Yes, General. Zorth looked confused. Why are you so calm? Evan glanced at him. I don't panic easily. Relt frowned. Is that a human trait? Evan thought for a moment. Not always. But many humans learn to stay calm in danger. Because fear makes us slow. Calm makes us fast. Zorth whispered, Fast thinking? Evan gave a small nod. Fast thinking. Fast planning. Fast imagining. The answer made the aliens exchange a nervous look. They entered a tall circular chamber, filled with holograms of battles, planets, and alien structures. This was the Strategic Research Hall, a place only officers were allowed to enter. Karath ordered, Sit. Evan sat on a metallic chair at the center of the room. Bright white light shined down on him, making him look small compared to the giants around him. Dr. Vola stepped forward with a datapad. Human Evan, she said softly. We want to understand how you think. Your list shows knowledge far beyond your training. Evan answered, Humans are good at thinking. We always have been. Vola tilted her head. Explain. Why are humans like this? Evan looked at his hands. Because our world was never safe. Everyone moved closer, listening. Evan continued in simple words. Earth had storms, animals, sickness, wars, many problems. Humans grew by surviving these problems. We learned to adapt. We learned to think fast. We learned to make plans. Karath crossed his arms. Adapt. Yes, Evan said. Humans change quickly. When something dangerous appears, humans don't wait. They act. They imagine solutions. They find new ways. Relt stepped forward. Your method number 4? Was that an adaptation? Evan nodded. Yes. It is a way to win when humans are weaker or outnumbered. Zorth whispered, That is what makes it terrifying. Evan continued, Humans don't need strength. We use our minds. Our minds kept us alive for thousands of years. Vola typed rapidly on her datapad. So your intelligence is a survival tool? Yes, Evan answered. Humans did not have claws, or armor, or wings, or poison. We only had our brains. Karath slowly sat down, thinking deeply. Your species evolved by learning how to survive without natural weapons. Yes, Evan said. Relt muttered, which means your greatest weapon is your mind. Evan didn't speak, but his silence answered everything. The officers gathered around the holographic table. Zorth placed the test paper in the center. The hologram scanned it and created floating symbols of all 30 methods Evan wrote. The room filled with blue light as each method hovered in the air. Method 1. Method 2. Method 3. Then Method 4, glowing brighter than the others. Karath studied them. A strategy. A psychological attack. A manipulation of fear. Only someone who understands minds deeply could create this. Relt pointed at another method. This uses environment. Another. This uses timing. Another. This uses simple tools as traps. Zorth shook his head. How does one brain think of so many ideas? Evan answered softly, because humans think of the worst things before they happen. It helps us stay alive. The officers stared at him in silence. Vola finally asked, Human Evan, how much danger can your species cause if threatened? Evan looked straight into her eyes. His voice remained calm. Enough. Enough for what? She asked. Enough to win, Evan replied. The room temperature seemed to drop. General Kirath leaned forward. Do humans choose to fight often? No, Evan said. Humans fight only when we must. But when we fight, we don't stop. Zorth swallowed. This is why your method number 4 was so shocking. Evan looked confused. Why? Kirath answered, because it means humans can use fear, logic, risk, sacrifice, emotion, and strategy all together. No other species does this. Evan gave a small shrug. That's normal for us. The aliens looked horrified. Kirath pressed a button recording everything. Human intelligence is a threat level we underestimated. The council must hear this directly from you. Evan stood slowly. I will tell them the truth. Relt narrowed his eyes. Truth? Or strategy? Evan smiled a calm, almost innocent smile. The truth is a strategy, he said. The officers froze. Kirath whispered, yes, we need the council. The door opened. Guards waited. And Evan was escorted toward the highest authority in the academy, ready to reveal just how dangerous a human mind could be. The council chamber was the most secure room in the entire Galactic Academy. Its doors were made of thick black metal, protected by layers of energy shields. Only high-ranking leaders were allowed inside. For a simple human cadet to enter was almost unthinkable, but today fear had replaced tradition. Evan walked in calmly between two guards. His steps were slow but steady, like a man walking into a normal classroom, not the heart of galactic authority. Above him, the ceiling glowed with blue stars, showing a hologram of the galaxy. The room itself was arranged like a circle, with 12 alien council members seated on high chairs. At the center stood a round platform where Evan was placed. General Kirath stepped forward. Council members, today's session concerns the evaluation of a human cadet. His intelligence level may pose a danger to the academy. A wave of murmurs filled the room. The council members leaned forward, their eyes glowing in different alien colors. One of the older counselors, a tall being with crystal skin named Counselor Thrix, spoke first. A human? Dangerous? Isn't that an exaggeration? Zorth stepped forward holding the test paper. His hands trembled slightly. Counselor Thrix, I thought the same, until I saw what he wrote. He placed the paper on the center table. A scanner activated, and all 30 methods Evan wrote appeared in the air as glowing blue symbols. A silence fell across the chamber. Counselor Narth, with 3 mouths and 8 fingers, studied the list. These strategies, they're intelligent. Disturbing. Too creative. Another council member tapped their claws nervously. Humans think like this naturally? Kirath nodded. The human says yes. He claims many in his species can think like this. A low growl of concern echoed around the room. Counselor Thrix spoke again. Human Evan, step forward. Evan obeyed. Thrix looked straight into his eyes. Did someone train you? Tell us the truth. Evan answered quietly, no. I learned from life. Humans grow by solving problems. We survive by imagining many dangers. A thin counselor with long arms leaned closer. Your method number 4, it shocked your instructor. It even shocked soldiers who fought in 3 wars. Why create something like that? Evan looked down at the glowing hologram of his list. Because humans prepare for the worst. When danger comes, we don't wait. We think. Counselor Thrix frowned. Does every human think in such a unpredictable way? Evan hesitated. Not every human. But many can. If needed. The chamber filled with whispers again. Counselor Narth slammed a hand on the table. This is too risky. If humans think like this naturally, they could become the most dangerous strategists in the galaxy. Another member shouted, or the most useful. The debate exploded instantly. Humans are unstable. Humans adapt fast. They create dangerous ideas. That makes them valuable. They should be removed from the academy. They should lead the academy. The room turned into chaos. Through all of it, Evan stood silently on the platform watching. He didn't argue. He didn't panic. He simply observed, exactly the way humans do when danger surrounds them. General Kirath raised his voice. Enough. The room fell silent. He pointed at the holographic list. Look at this. No other species here could create this many strategies in such a short time. Not even trained officers. Relt added, this human wrote 30 methods in minutes. If he had more time, he said he could write many more. One counselor shivered. That's terrifying. Narth spoke again. We should ban humans from military institutions. They are unpredictable. Their minds are sharp in dangerous ways. Thrix shook his head. No. That would be a mistake. A great mistake. All eyes turned to him. Thrix continued, if humans can think like this, then they are not a threat, unless we make them one. The room grew quiet. Thrix looked at Evan. Human, tell us the truth. Why did you really join the academy? Evan breathed slowly. To learn. To prove humans can be useful. I want to show that humans should not be seen as weak. Narth raised an eyebrow. Not weak? You want power? Evan shook his head. No. I want respect. That sentence hit the council harder than any weapon. Thrix leaned back. He doesn't want control. He wants recognition. That is different. Relt nodded slowly. I believe him. Narth protested, but humans could be dangerous if angered. Evan looked directly at the council. Every species is dangerous when pushed. Humans are not special in that way. You only fear us because you do not understand us. The chamber grew silent again. Counselor Thrix spoke softly, perhaps, we fear you because you think like us but faster. Karath stepped forward. Council, we must decide. Will humans be allowed in the academy, or forced to leave? All eyes locked on Evan. Some filled with fear. Some filled with curiosity. Some filled with respect. Finally, Thrix raised his crystal hand. I vote to keep the human. But not as a normal cadet. Narth glared. Then what? Thrix answered, as a strategist trainee. Under observation. Guided. Studied. Karath nodded. I agree. Slowly, one by one, the council members lifted their hands. Accept. Only 2 voted against. And the decision was made. Evan Hale would remain at the Galactic Academy. But no longer as a simple cadet. He was now something else. A mind the council wanted to understand. And a threat they wanted to control. Evan's new life began the next morning. He was no longer living in the regular cadet dormitory. Instead, he was moved to a special observation area inside the academy. The room was clean and simple. White walls, a desk, a bed, and a window showing the training fields outside. It looked peaceful, but he knew every corner had cameras and sensors. General Karath visited first. You are still a cadet, Karath said, but now you are also something more. The council wants to see how your mind works. They want to understand humans. Evan nodded. I will try. Karath looked at him carefully. Do not just try. Do well. If you fail, they will say it is dangerous to let humans stay here. After Karath left, Zorth, his instructor, entered the room. He looked both proud and nervous. Evan, Zorth said, the council selected a special test for you. Something no first-year cadet has ever done. Evan waited calmly. What test? Zorth pressed a button on the wall. A hologram flickered into existence. It showed a massive structure, dark, winding, full of corridors. The strategic labyrinth, Zorth explained. A giant simulation maze used to train high-level officers. It changes shape. It adapts. It observes your choices. Evan stared at the hologram. And I have to solve it? No, Zorth said. You have to survive it. Relt entered the room next, carrying a metal box. The labyrinth watches your mind, she explained. If you panic, it grows more dangerous. If you act foolishly, it uses your mistake against you. She opened the box. Inside was a small silver bracelet. You must wear this during the entire test, she said. It tracks your thoughts. Evan put it on. It felt cold against his skin. Zorth touched Evan's shoulder. Don't be afraid. Humans are good at escaping danger. Use that instinct. Evan gave a small smile. I will. Entering the labyrinth. The entrance to the strategic labyrinth was a circular gate deep inside the academy. Many high-ranking officers stood around it, whispering quietly. They looked at Evan with curiosity, suspicion, and fear. General Karath approached him. Once you enter, you cannot stop until you reach the exit. The labyrinth will shift to challenge your mind. Evan nodded. I understand. The gate opened with a low mechanical growl. A long dark corridor awaited. Evan stepped inside. The door slammed shut behind him. The first trial. The walls around him shifted slowly like they were alive. The floor lit up with blue lines guiding him forward, but he didn't follow them. Humans didn't trust easy paths. Instead, Evan walked into the side hallway, smaller, darker, unfamiliar. The silver bracelet beeped softly, recording his mental state. A robotic voice echoed from the walls. First trial, deception. Lights flickered. The walls moved like sliding puzzle pieces, closing hallways, opening new ones. Evan kept moving calmly. He placed his hand gently on the left wall, keeping track of the labyrinth's subtle vibrations. Humans are pattern seekers, he whispered to himself. Even in chaos. In 5 minutes he found the exit to the first trial. The labyrinth beeped, almost annoyed. The second trial. The next chamber opened suddenly into a huge space, a wide arena with floating platforms and shifting bridges. Second trial, decision speed. Platforms moved in random directions. Some collapsed. Some spun fast. Some exploded seconds after appearing. Most cadets froze in fear during this part. Evan crouched low, eyes scanning everything at once. His breathing became slow and steady. He didn't jump onto the nearest platform, he waited. He watched their patterns, their timing. Then, he moved. He ran across 3 platforms, ducked under one, jumped over another, then paused again. Every few seconds he stopped to observe. The labyrinth threw new obstacles, falling columns, laser grids, rising fire. Evan dodged everything. Not by speed, but by reading the pattern behind the danger. When he reached the far side, the arena shook, clearly irritated. He had solved the second trial faster than most officers. The third trial. The hallway narrowed until it became a small room. The lights dimmed. Third trial, fear. The walls projected illusions. Monsters, explosions, collapsing ceilings, even images of Earth burning. The labyrinth tried to see what frightened him most. Evan's heart pounded, but he kept his eyes focused straight ahead. Humans grow in fear, he said quietly. We don't break. The illusions intensified. He walked through all of them without stopping. When he reached the door, the illusions faded instantly. The labyrinth seemed confused. The fourth trial. The final chamber was quiet. Too quiet. A large stone puzzle sat in the center of the room, glowing symbols, shifting shapes, impossible to solve quickly. Fourth trial, strategic impossibility. A trap for overthinkers. Evan studied it for 10 seconds. Then he stepped back, looked at the ceiling, and found a small metal grate, an exit not part of the puzzle. He stacked 2 puzzle stones, climbed on them, grabbed the grate, and pulled himself through. He didn't solve the puzzle. He bypassed it. Humans did not play by the rules. The exit. The exit door opened. Evan walked out calmly, covered in dust but unharmed. Officers gasped. Zortha's mouth fell open. Relt covered her face in shock. General Karath breathed slowly. You finished, faster than any trainee in history. Counselor Narth stared at Evan like he was a dangerous animal. Counselor Thrix whispered, unpredictable. Efficient. Fearless. This is why humans are important, and frightening. Evan stood silently. The labyrinth had read his mind. Now the whole academy wanted to read it too. Evan stood in the center of the council hall, surrounded by tall alien leaders from many species. The room was huge, glowing with blue and silver light, with a round table made of crystal-like material. Hundreds of alien eyes watched him from balconies above. He had just completed the strategic labyrinth faster than any cadet in academy history, faster than many trained officers. Now the question was simple. What should the Galactic Academy do with him? Counselor Narth, the one who feared humans the most, spoke first. His voice was sharp and cold. This human is dangerous. He thinks too fast, adapts too fast, survives too easily. This is not normal. We should restrict his access. Humans should not be allowed near our military systems. Many aliens murmured in agreement. Counselor Thrix stood angrily. You are afraid because he succeeded? Is that a crime? Humans have shown intelligence, strength, and creativity. We should value that. General Kirath stepped forward. Evan is not a threat. He is a resource. His mind is different, yes. But that difference can help us. Narth hissed loudly. Or destroy us. Kirath slammed his hand on the table. He completed the labyrinth using logic, not violence. Zorth stepped to Evan's side, voice shaking but firm. I trained this human. I watched him. He does not want to harm anyone. He wants to prove humans belong in the academy. The room grew tense. Counselor Relt finally spoke. She was calm, but her eyes were sharp. There is something more important here. The labyrinth recorded his thinking patterns. It showed that humans take paths we cannot predict. This can be good, or very dangerous. She turned to Evan. Why did you take the hidden exit in the fourth trial? Why not solve the puzzle? Evan answered quietly. Because the puzzle was a trap. It wanted me to lose time. Sometimes the fastest way out is not the official way. Murmurs spread across the hall. Some aliens looked impressed. Others looked worried. Relt continued, so you break rules? No, Evan said. I break limits. The hall fell silent. A sudden division. Narth raised a glowing tablet. Look at this, he said, projecting a chart into the air. Human thinking patterns are chaotic, risky, emotional. They can change plans in seconds. No alien species does this. Thrix shot back. That is what makes humans strong. Narth pointed at Evan again. Strong? Or unpredictable? If we train this one, soon more humans will come. We will create a species that thinks like a weapon. A group of alien officers stepped forward to support Narth. Another group stepped behind Thrix. The council hall suddenly looked like two armies facing each other. Evan stood in the center, silent. He realized something important. This was bigger than him. This was about the future of all humans in the galaxy. Evan speaks. Evan finally raised his voice. Everyone here is afraid of one thing: uncertainty. You fear that humans may surprise you. But that is exactly why you need us. All eyes turned toward him. He continued. Aliens have structure, order, perfect rules. But enemies outside this academy do not follow your rules. Pirates, invaders, rogue AI, chaos is rising everywhere. He stepped closer to the council table. You need someone who can think outside patterns. Someone who can see danger before it arrives. Someone who can imagine the impossible. Narth narrowed his eyes. And you believe humans can do this? Evan did not hesitate. Yes. Humans survived thousands of years on Earth. Storms, hunger, war, fear, we adapted every time. We didn't survive because we were the strongest. We survived because we were flexible. The hall grew quiet. No other species can create 30 strategies when asked for only 3, he continued softly. That is not a threat. That is a strength. Thrix smiled proudly. Zorth wiped his eyes. Relt looked thoughtful. But Narth remained stone-faced. The vote. General Kirath stepped forward. I call for a final vote, he announced. The choice is simple. Do we accept humans as equal cadets, or do we ban them from the academy forever? A glowing sphere rose above the table. Each counselor touched it, the color shifting to represent their vote. One by one the votes appeared in the air. Green for acceptance, red for restriction. The sphere flickered with colors. Green, red, green, red. The hall held its breath. Finally, only one counselor had not voted. Rel. She looked at Evan for a long time. He did not speak. He did not beg. He simply waited with calm eyes. Rel touched the sphere. It turned green. The entire hall erupted in shock. The final tally glowed in the air. Green, 12 votes. Red, 11 votes. Humans were accepted. The decision. General Kirath raised his voice proudly. Evan, by the decision of the Galactic Council, you are now an official cadet and strategic consultant of the Academy. Zorth clapped. Thrix cheered. Many aliens looked relieved. But Narth leaned in close and whispered to Evan. This is not over, human. Some of us still think you are too dangerous. Be careful. Evan met his gaze without fear. I don't need to be dangerous, Evan said softly. I just need to be human.